World Arts Academy provides professional development for emerging, practicing, and master dance artists, teachers, administrators, and scholars through advocacy and professional development opportunities that advance dance as a performing art in educational sectors and communities throughout the world. Our faculty teaches diverse dance genres in a variety of environments including, but not limited to, K through 12 schools, dance studios, colleges, and community centers. World Arts Academy envisions dance reimagined, reflective of our differences and supportive of all who dance and teach dance. A world where dance education is equitable, accessible, valued, and preserved. Please visit our website at worldartsacademy.com to see our impressive faculty, view our workshop calendar, enjoy distance learning, or help our mission by becoming a patron.
The Danceology podcast interviews the great masters of dance, the working professionals starring in today's most exciting shows, and the rising stars ready to amp up the craft. I'm your host, Edyta Sliwinska from Dancing with the Stars. Join me as I dive into the world of dance, uncovering unique stories and the fascinating personalities of industry professionals on Danceology. Skylar Brandt, thank you so much for coming to On Danceology. Thank you so much for dedicating your very precious time. And I know today is your only day off. And I'm very grateful that you're spending some portion of it with me. But what is it that you normally do on a day off?
Oh, no, first of all, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And actually, yes, this is a day off for me, but it's really a day on. The way I design my Mondays is very involved, actually. So today, for example, I started by teaching a private lesson to one of my regular students at 9:30 in the morning. I'm mostly just impressed by her taking a ballet class at 9:30 in the morning, which is very hard to do. So I'm like, if she's going to show up, then I have to show up. She's the one working really hard. And then from there, I go to Pilates. And I work with my Pilates teacher for an hour. And then I went down to ABT and I warmed myself up for an hour, had an hour and a half private lesson, got in the cab, got on another meeting at like 3:15, and now we get to speak. And so this is like the perfect way to end the day, honestly.
Okay, so wait a second. My vision of your day off, because I know how hard you work, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, was you on the couch doing nothing.
Yes, and you are right. That would be a day, that would be like a Sunday for me, actually. So I do really value time off, real time off, and I love to be a couch potato. I definitely am like feet up, recovering, eating, watching my favorite junk TV shows. So I do that, but it would be like on a Sunday afternoon as opposed to Monday. I'm like, okay, I should start my week even before my week at ABT starts.
So do you get to do that every Sunday, or this is just every once in a while when you are not performing in the theater?
Yeah, Sundays, sometimes I still do work on Sundays. I'll either teach lessons or, it's funny, Sundays are like, even though I'm off physically, I'm responding to emails or doing contracts or phone calls, things like that, where it's still work. And sometimes it's like the more tedious work that feels more difficult, and I tend to procrastinate that kind of work. For me, it's easier to like show up in the studio and dance, as I'm sure you can relate to. It's just like
that's what we do. Yeah,
it's what we do. It's enjoyable. It's pleasurable. And Sundays is kind of like, ooh, the busy work stuff that I need to like, where I'm like, okay, I should address the things I need to address that I've been putting off all week.
But you know what? Still, your day off seems pretty intense physically, teaching and taking a Pilates class. It's not really what people would normally regard to as a day off. So tell me, give our listeners a sense of how hard do you work? How much do you train on a regular basis? How many hours a day? Is it mostly dancing? Do you do other things? I know you do Pilates, but like on a regular day, what it's like.
Yeah, so I think the reason that I work so hard on, let's say, a day off like a Monday is because it's really the only day that I can plan ahead for. So, at American Ballet Theatre, we get our schedule only like a day and a half in advance. So it makes it very difficult to schedule appointments or other things that I might want to do. It just is like more unpredictable. And so my day at ABT typically, depending on the season, depending on which ballets we might be rehearsing at any given moment, um, we start class at 10 a.m. and then we can be rehearsing until 6:30 in the evening. So that would be a regular rehearsal week. Then when you add in performances, start at 10, maybe 10 a.m. or 10:30, rehearse until about 5:15-ish, and then you really start to get ready for your night, which includes maybe eating a quick dinner, putting your makeup on, rewarming up, hair, costume, performance. Curtain comes down maybe around 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, again, depending on which ballet you're performing. And then I feel like my night can start can start then. I usually have enough adrenaline that I go home, and even if I'm physically tired or emotionally tired from performing, I need maybe just as many hours to decompress. So I like to go home and shower and then sit on the couch and like do normal person stuff for hours and hours. Sometimes I don't go to bed until, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Even when I'm exhausted, there's just something in me that makes me stay awake because I'm still like on a high. And that could be after a show like Swan Lake or Giselle or something where it's, again, very intense. Um, you would think I would pass out, but I don't.
No, I
So just
completely
like,
get it.
yeah.
I completely get it. So, how do you ever get enough sleep? And how
Yeah.
often do you perform in a season? Is it just weekends or every day?
So that's a really interesting question. I mean, I'm such a like sleep for me. I know different people have different requirements for sleep. I'm definitely a person who loves sleeping. I feel like that's when I recover mentally and physically. And I generally do a pretty good job of getting, like 8 hours a night. Of course, if there's a performance, again, like a Swan Lake, and then I can't fall asleep till like 2, 3 in the morning, then I'm not. But the good news is typically I'm not then performing Swan Lake the next day again. So I
Nice.
can
You can sleep in.
I can kind of, yes, or not sleep in, but just like know that if I'm tired the next day, it's fine. I don't need my like perfect energy for anything particularly important the next day, other than maybe rehearsals. But what's interesting about, especially for American Ballet Theatre, but for like a principal dancer there, is that we perform max like once or twice a week. And that's because there's so many casts of principals. We have such a we have like quite a roster of principal dancers, and not only that, but we have very few shows that we actually don't have that much performance opportunity, which really sucks for us. But it's sort of the it's sort of the nature of especially arts in the United States. It's sort of like, we don't have these super long performance seasons. We have a lot of layoffs. We're not performing year round like, companies in Europe or maybe South America, or so the performances are far and few between, and then the number of dancers is like greater than the number of shows. So as a result of that, oftentimes you only get maybe one show a year, let's say, of Swan Lake, which makes it really
Wow.
difficult to build on something and feel like you can get better at it, because you have like your one shot. You might be like super nervous or concerned because you're like, oh my God, I hope it goes well because this is my one shot till next year. And then you're not revisiting the material again until the following year. So it's really challenging for, especially for a principal dancer at American Ballet Theatre specifically. Um, yeah, what I will say is that we we work really hard. We try to do rehearsals as if they're performances, just because we don't have a lot of time to prepare things, and we know that we usually only get our one chance to go on stage. But yeah, sometimes we don't even get to perform a role. Like, there's certain ballets that I would love to do that, simply because there are too many casts already in a particular ballet, like
Roster. Mhm.
in the roster, I might not get an opportunity to perform something until someone retires, or someone has a baby, or someone's injured. Like, that's kind of the way that it works at ABT. So it's tough.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So let's talk a little bit about the performance, because I'm comparing it a little bit to ballroom dancing right now. I can tell how you love to perform, how passionately you talk about it, and the adrenaline rush that you get afterwards. I love that feeling too. You get so hyped up from expressing yourself on the stage, and from the energy that the audience gives you as well.
True.
But you participated in a show called Big Ballet, I believe, a TV show
Yes.
that was a competition, which
Yeah.
must be very, very foreign for you as a ballet dancers. In ballroom, we compete all the time. This is what we do. We go to a competition every 2 weeks, every month, basically. And then, even if you perform later on, if you're retired, you perform like a showcase at the competition. It's all competition. How was that experience for you to actually compete against other ballet dancers? How did it come all about? Tell me about it.
Oh my gosh, it was such a crazy story. Well, what I will say is that I competed when I was a kid. When I was a student, I competed, I think, 3 different years in Youth America Grand Prix, which is an international ballet competition that awards scholarships and jobs to young dancers. But that the last time I competed, I was 14 years old. And the first 2 times I was maybe 9 years old and 10 years old. And I remember competing. I didn't really enjoy it. It made me a nervous wreck. I just felt like I put so much pressure on myself. So it's not like competition is like a comfortable space for me. And the truth is I feel like a ballroom dancer, or like a comp kid who comes from like a comp school where you're doing conventions and things like that all the time. Yeah, it's like you're part of your internal rhythm almost. And so it's not. It's like exercising a certain muscle. You're just used to being in a competitive environment. But when I was contacted as already a professional dancer who hadn't competed in years, to appear on Bolshoi Ballet, I was so excited because I love Russian ballet. It's like always been, I don't know, it's always been my favorite. I grew up like one of my first teachers, she was Russian dancer and just really exquisite. And that's kind of the foundation of my technique from a little kid. Russian dancers were always my favorite to watch. It's just, it spoke to me in a different way than even other interpretations and styles of ballet. So what happened was I was actually on tour with ABT, and I essentially got a message from this boy who was going to appear on the show, and his partner had gotten injured, and he had been asking around already different other female dancers to come and actually be his non-competing partner on the show. So he didn't actually inform me that I could participate as a competitor. He just said, can you come and basically be a body for him so that he could still, a partner, so he could still compete. And I think because his partner got injured close enough to the show that it left him with very little time to find someone new, and also for that person to prepare, let's say, I don't know, we prepared like 4 or 5 pas de deux, again, to be filmed and broadcast on the Cultura channel, like for millions of people to watch. There was really nobody in the whole world who was crazy enough to say yes, except for me. So, and because I'm just like a yes person, especially at that time in my life, I was like, that sounds scary and amazing and exciting, and like 100% I'm going to do it. And I remember I flew from tour. The tour that I was on with ABT was only like a week-long tour. So I had maybe exactly like 6 pairs of underwear, 6 pairs of socks, 6
Oh my
leotards and
gosh.
6 tights. You know, I'm like that kind of packer where I'm super efficient. It was in a carry-on, and I was like, well, I'm going first to Paris to meet this guy and try to put together this choreography, and then the following week going to Russia and to film this show. And so I remember, I think my parents ended up meeting me in Russia because I was like, oh, I'm here doing this cool thing. You want to come and be tourists with me like half the time? And so they brought a suitcase full of other clothes, but I was rewashing the same like clothing for, 2 weeks at least. And I remember I like downloaded for the pieces that were already made, like I downloaded from YouTube those. Uh, that video from those pieces of choreography so that I could like learn it on the flight over so that I wouldn't waste any time trying to catch up. But I'm also just kind of crazy in that way, and it was so exciting, but also I was like, "Oh my God, I just respect this art form so much, and they respect it so much in Russia that I wanted to do the best that I could because and with no rehearsal time, it's you can there how much can you really do to prepare yourself to
Right.
be the best you can be? But I was like, I'm just grateful to be here, and I think that I ended up getting a prize even though I wasn't a competitor, because I think that the jury basically invented one for me because I actually came, I filled in at the last second. I was there. I was taking in the information. I think they were sympathetic toward my situation, and they wanted to acknowledge me in a more official way. And so that's how I ended up with an unprecedented special jury award that they just invented for me in that particular
Love
season
it.
of the show. So they
Love
were
it.
very sweet to me. Yeah.
So, although you didn't compete, you got to see what competition kind of does to dancers. Do you think that the competitive aspect takes away from dancing or adds to it? How does it affect actually dancers?
Yeah, well, what I'll say is I think it has its upsides and its downsides for sure, and especially depending on the age. Like when I was young, I remember one of my mentors, Larissa Saveliev, who actually founded this ballet competition, Youth America Grand Prix, that I competed in. I think she felt very strongly that it's important to have as many performance opportunities as possible when you're a young kid, and it's so true that as students we are only on stage either for the Nutcracker, like our local ballet school's Nutcracker, or for the year-end showcase. But other than that, we don't have a lot of chances to go on stage. And so I think she recommended to me, it's very different to do, let's say, your normal technique class or work towards a performance. And so I did
Right.
see the value in that, of working towards a performance, working towards the goal. But for me, the goal was not winning. It was just preparing something to be on stage. And I think sometimes the stress can be on the wrong thing for a child. Like sometimes it's okay, you're going there to win the gold medal, and really it shouldn't be about that. It should be about the experience and the process of getting on stage and competing. It just happens that you're being judged. And I think the pressure can be good, especially in a competition setting, again, like Youth America Grand Prix. There you have directors of schools and companies that come from all over the world to look at kids. So it's like being on a world stage. You get to have so much exposure, which is, I think, so invaluable as well. Like maybe a kid from Cuba would never otherwise be viewed by a director from Paris Opera Ballet, and maybe it would never be a connection because there's no other way for that young Cuban dancer to audition for Paris Opera
Right.
Ballet, for example. So I do think it's amazing in that regard, and you also get to see what other kids look like, and it is a reality check sometimes for a lot of kids, but I think
Mhm.
that's important to be able to say, wow, there's a whole world of other dancers out here. It's not just who I see in my class. Maybe I'm at the top of my class at home, but there's so many other better kids. I need to either work harder or
Mhm.
make a career change,
Right.
or
This is
do
not
I
a myth.
want this? Yeah, like I think it has a lot of benefit. When I did do the Russian competition TV show, even though I wasn't competing, it was even great for me to see what else was out there. And I ended up
Right.
making a lot of friends, sharing a lot of experiences with other dancers who were competing, and those kinds of also meetings and relationships, I think, stay with you for your whole life and your
Right.
career.
Yeah.
It's like you make those
Mixed
bonds with
experience.
people
Hmm.
through hardship. You know, it's not hardship like a real hardship to do a competition, but it's a highly intense environment, and there's a lot of emotion, and a lot can be riding on the outcome of a competition, and so those experiences can also help to bond people. So I think it can be beautiful as long as the person competing has a good support system and the right information about the process of competing.
Yeah, no, I see it as an opportunity to perform. I never looked at it that way. It's definitely a valuable experience. You know, you in ballroom competitions, they pack 15, sometimes 20 couples at the same time on the floor, so you get to dance in front of the audience over and over. There are certain disadvantages. I think there are certain things that take away from dancing when you compete, because it becomes about winning, right? And then you are compared directly to another person. So it kind of, in my opinion, takes a little bit away from the expression. Competing was never my favorite thing. I felt like I almost became alive or reborn when I discovered performing rather than competing. In ballroom, you start competing, that's all you know. But listen, why do you think ballet is so much more revered in Russia than in the United States?
I think it's just a cultural thing. I think in general, arts in the US is just not as valued as it is in other parts of the world, sadly. It's not like there's not a lot of money in arts. People are, we live in a capitalistic society, which I appreciate, and I think it's great. And I do think arts are necessary, but I don't think they're viewed in the same way that like sports are viewed here. I think,
Mhm.
yeah, people like to see the cutthroat, talk about competition. They like to see a winner and a loser, a drive and an underdog and this and that. And ballet, for as much as there is a meritocracy there, it is still an art form where there is no quote right or wrong, and it's just this beautiful thing that you go and see. What I will say is I don't know that the quality of ballet is so great everywhere in the US. I was actually having this conversation with several different people in December while we were performing the Nutcracker, and I was saying how I feel that people's first exposure and experience to ballet in general, like the normal person is going to see the Nutcracker. And that usually is to go see, oh, my cousin is performing the Nutcracker. Oh, my
Mhm.
granddaughter's performing the Nutcracker. My brother's performing the Nutcracker. It could be that. It could be like a small school that's doing the best they can, but it might not be the most like amazing experience. Usually people are bored watching it, and then they're like, I'm never going to go watch a ballet again, because their first exposure to ballet is a more regional, not as high quality show. And it's not to take away from those schools that are doing amazing things by giving their local dancers the opportunity
Mhm.
to perform. Like, that's
Right.
so important. It's just that the normal person is going to go watch their family member or their friend in something that's not going to be that amazing. So that's my own theory, is that like people probably write off ballet pretty quickly because they're not living, let's say, in New York City, and they're across the street from Lincoln Center, and they're exposed to like the high, a super high level. They might be in, somewhere in Iowa or Nebraska, and they're just watching kids like goof around
It's
on
skipping
stage
across
and
the floor. Yeah, yeah.
falling over. Yeah, which is sweet, but it's just that's not an accurate portrayal of what ballet
Definitely.
can be. So that's my feeling. I also think that people don't understand and respect how difficult ballet and like dances in general. Obviously, as ballet dancers, it's our job to not show the effort. So
Right.
people don't have the respect for the work that's put in because they just don't know. And if they watch us, they're like, oh, you look like cute, you dancing around on your tippy toes without even making the connection like, oh, maybe that would be hard to stand on like 10 toes with my whole body weight. So I
Right.
think that's my feeling.
You touch upon a couple of points that I want to talk about. Like, first of all, I think you're right. I don't think that people understand how athletic dancing is. I actually believe that ballet dancers in particular are the most amazing athletes out there. The way you leap, the way you hold your balance, you stand on your toes and you're lifting your leg and you're holding it for minutes. You stand on your leg and you do 20 pirouettes. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas how to make ballet more approachable? Because I do believe that it's underappreciated.
Yeah, I do too. I think, it's been interesting to see how ballet has made it more into mainstream society and like kind of like pop culture these days. I think ever since Black Swan, the movie with Natalie Portman, where people were
Mhm.
like, "Oh my God, is the ballet world really like this?" And I'm like, "No, it's not." But it was such a controversial film within the
It just
dance
brought
world.
attention to the. Mhm.
Yes, and a lot of ballet dancers did not like it because they felt like it was an inaccurate portrayal of the ballet world. Totally get it. I thought it was a great thing for the ballet world because it brought eyeballs.
Yeah.
It made people aware of what ballet even is. And of course, there are ignorant people who we're calling the box office saying, when is Natalie Portman performing Swan Lake? And we're like, no, 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 she's not a ballet dancer by any means whatsoever. Even that, like, I remember it's like my friends were the body doubles for Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman. And, here you have the general public thinking that Natalie Portman is like a ballerina when she's really not. She's an excellent actress. She, obviously committed herself 100% to the role, but could she go on stage and do the things that we do, like
I
as
know.
a highly, yeah, like specialized profession that we've been training 20 plus years to do? Absolutely not. But I think those baby steps of kind of exposing people to what ballet can be is great. I know ballet. There was like a big fad of having ballet theme. It was called like ballet core, and all different kinds of fashion brands were doing,
Mhm.
ballet slipper pink and wrap sweaters and things, tulle and things that they thought um, were kind of balletic in their clothing lines. And and there's actually a funny account on Instagram. It's called models doing ballet, I think, and it's a whole Instagram account dedicated to differentiating between those brands that actually hire real dancers for, let's say, their ballet fashion lines to
Mhm.
represent it, and then the brands that will like throw point shoes onto a model and say, okay, walk down the runway, and you're just like, no, this girl is gonna break her feet, like it's so dangerous. So I think, that's also kind of becoming more prevalent. But what I feel is that it would be great if there was some sort of like reality TV show, not a trashy one, but in a documentary style,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
just kind of like follow dancers in a ballet company. I know it's been attempted before, but I think there's also a lot that stands in the way of letting those kinds of projects get made, mostly money. Like even to film something at the Metropolitan Opera House, let's say, it just to film like the facade of the building could be $100,000 or something, let alone
Very
going
difficult.
in. You have to pay all the crew, the unions like have high fees, the orchestra
Oh,
have high fees. So it's like there's a lot of things that stand in the way of that kind of thing getting made, which is unfortunate because I feel like it would be really great if in the US we had some sort of representation of what it really is to be a professional dancer, ballerina.
and what do you? Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I think it would be a great idea. Back in the day when me and my husband finished with Dancing with the Stars and we were producing stage shows, we actually were thinking about producing TV shows, and we're pitching some of the ideas that you were talking about, but it's very hard to get people on board with that, maybe because it's logistically so difficult, or maybe because people are scared to dive into it, not knowing how the audience will respond. But what do you think about this idea? The repertoire of a typical ballet company is pretty traditional. We talk about, obviously there are some more contemporary pieces, but it is mostly based on the classics, on the Swan Lake and the Nutcracker and Romeo and Juliet and Giselle. Now, it's very, I would say, I love ballet. I'm a dancer. I appreciate art so much. I can stare at you guys, at your bodies, which I think are a work of art, for hours. But I would feel like for a young contemporary, person, an audience member, it would be hard to relate to some of these characters. The music is classical. It's almost like ballet is married to classical music, and the themes are traditional. They are in a setting that people cannot relate to. Like, good example for me would be Romeo and Juliet. So I don't know, you are quite young, so I don't know if you remember, but for someone to make a movie in a traditional setting of Romeo and Juliet, I don't know how many young people would watch it. But I don't know if you are familiar with Baz Luhrmann, Romeo and
Yes, of
Juliet with
course.
Leonardo
I love
DiCaprio.
that one. Yes,
I grew
it's
up
so
on
good.
it.
Yeah.
I grew up on it. It was such a hit. The soundtrack, the setting was urban. It was, it was all in kind of familiar environment. We absolutely were all we were all absolutely fascinated with it. Is there a chance that something like that can be done with ballet? What do you think?
Absolutely.
Speaking from inside.
And it is being done, and largely in Europe. Like, you even have, speaking of Giselle, you have Akram Khan's Giselle. And I saw it performed here in Brooklyn when English National Ballet toured with it. And I was like, wow, this is really cool, really different. Different music, different sets, almost like even a slightly different story. I thought it was very cool. Same for Swan Lake. You have Matthew Bourne's Swan Lake, which is like an all corps ballet of men swans. Like, it's super amazing. So there are modern and contemporary takes on classic ballets. It is being done. I think, again, it's a matter of like getting people in the door to see it, and usually people just don't know what sometimes marketing is not so good. And also, a lot of these ballet companies, especially in the United States, are not-for-profit arts organizations that don't have crazy funds to be able to promote things and do the proper marketing to get people in the door. So it's usually, it comes from every department that needs to like work together to help to sell an idea, and sell it to the public. But it is being done, and I think it's wonderful. I love the classics, but it doesn't, and I do appreciate that that the classics do kind of like transcend you. So I think there's something beautiful. The beautiful thing about ballet is that it does feel like you're watching some like untouchable jewel, otherworldly kind of thing. I feel like that's why I liked going to the ballet, because I was like, whoa, this is a different world. This is not human. This is not of this earth. And that's what drew me to it. There is kind of like an elite sensibility that comes with it that takes you out of your normal day to day. I think that's what is very beautiful about it. But that said, I also love seeing new interpretations of things, and I think it's valuable, especially if you have a younger generation that you would like to expose to the ballet, to get them in the doors. I think it's great.
It's to be honest with you, I have 2 kids, so I don't get to go to ballet that often. And if I do like the classics too. But I'm the special case. But I will tell you
Yeah.
honestly that I have not seen a ballet story yet. I've seen a lot of contemporary pieces, but a storyline that I feel like other younger people that are not dancers, that are not like me, that are not dance enthusiasts, that they could really connect to and they could follow, not only to admire the dancing, but actually for the story. And I wanted to ask you about that emotional connection, because you often talk about expressing yourself emotionally, how you emotionally connect with your role and to the audience. How important is that for you? And also, how important is that for you comparing to the technical skills?
Yeah.
How?
Well, yeah. First of all, I agree with you. I think, I feel like ballet that had, let's say, a ballet that was about, I don't know, we seem to, even when new ballets are being made, it seems to be either like a Shakespeare ballet or Dostoevsky, like ABT, we just choreographed a brand new Crime and Punishment. I don't know how many people have read that book, for example, even though it's a classic. But perhaps, yes, if there was a story about, I don't know, like a closeted gay person and who was coming out to his family, like something very modern, I could see that really drawing people in. That kind of contemporary modern story of this generation, I think that would, I agree with you there. As far as new stories being told, um relative to, yeah, like artistic slash technical side of
Mhm.
performing, I do try to achieve both. But I had this, it's like I had this realization not long ago. I feel like in watching so many amazing kids these days with such crazy highly technical skills, it's like now you can see anything on TikTok, Instagram, and people are
Yeah,
posting
amazing.
absolutely amazing technical feats. Um, it kind of made me feel more relaxed and take the pressure off myself, because it's like, of course I want to wow people with technical
Hmm.
prowess, but I'm like, this is so now weirdly commonplace that kids are doing more and more and more. Like it's kind of like watching gymnastics these days. You watch old videos, you
Hmm.
watch videos now, and people are pushing those athletic boundaries. That I'm like, I, no matter how many pirouettes I do, still maybe this like 14-year-old kid is gonna go on stage and do
Do
more
more.
than that. Yeah, and so like I think I don't need to worry about it anymore. In a weird way, I'm like, instead of me now trying to catch up to that 14-year-old and say like, okay, I better figure out how to do 25 pros on point, which for me, I'm just like, I can't. First of all, I don't think it's possible for me, because I feel like if it were, then I would have done it already in my however many years of dancing. And secondly, I don't want to spend my valuable time in the studio trying to get to that point, even though it's so great. In a way, I'm like, okay, forget about it. I'm just gonna try to be the best artist I can be. And at the end of the day, I do have always thought it's more important to focus on artistry, because that's what makes it an art form. You're moving people, you're making them feel a certain emotion that
Hmm.
hopefully sits with, it's like a great performance would be one that makes someone sit with a feeling where it's still resonating with them even the
Yeah.
next day. And that is so, it's like that kind of stuff can't be taught. And it's what differentiates one artist from the next, one dancer from the next. And so it's always gonna take more importance for me to be able to like tell a story than to manage the technical side, which has to be there,
Hmm.
of course, even simply so that it doesn't, technical slip ups don't take away from trying to
Right.
tell the story in a beautiful way. But ultimately, I'm like, wow, Sky, you can really just like chill out on the technique stuff, because it's always gonna be getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
How it
I
feels.
see that too. I see that too. You do have to have a technical base to just build your performance on. You cannot do it without having your body is your tool. The better tool you have, the better you are able to express yourself. Um, well, you talked a little bit about like kids and Instagram and all that. You're quite present on social media, and you talk about branding and being kind of true to yourself. Is there anything that you wouldn't do? Have you been approached to do something that was not consistent with your branding and you had to, say no to
Decline.
it?
Yeah, for sure. I've been approached by brands, even a brand that, wanted to do something for like female pleasure. And I'm like, okay,
Oh,
wonderful. Like, I appreciate that you want me to try your product or whatever and promote it, but this is not something that like I'm going to necessarily share with my demographic of followers.
right.
So there are things like that. And also in general, it's interesting the word branding because I think for me, social media, it's never been, okay, I'm here trying to brand myself. I'm just genuinely sharing aspects of my life, which usually are just rehearsal clips. Very like sometimes when I'm promoting, let's say like a clothing brand or a leotard or something to that effect, then I will take a video specifically of me doing pirouettes or balancing or some sort of, to help
Wearing it.
to sell the product. Um, and then I might just try to get like the best clip of the best pirouette that I can do that day, for example. But in general, it's like if there's a good moment that I have on camera, it's because it genuinely happened in a rehearsal that I was doing, and I just was lucky to be filming it, or a moment where I fell, same thing. Um, and I'm taking those kinds of videos so that I can use them as a study tool when I go home after
Mhm.
I'm done with my session with my coach. I can actually like review what I did and try to make myself better. But I never actually set out to like introduce myself or be like, this is me, this is who I am. It's just me organically sharing the things that are really happening in my life, just posting them online. And then I guess it became people, it was especially during the pandemic, like people were um on the internet more, myself included, so it sort of happened naturally that way, I would say. But it was never like my intention to be like, okay, I want to brand myself to look like this or do that or stand for this. It's just me being like,
It's just you.
it's just me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you are a bit of a goofball. I
I
know this in your
am.
videos, which I absolutely love because it's such a contrast from this very elegant and esoteric almost ballerina on a stage. I absolutely love it. You also take hip hop classes, which I would absolutely die to see. Okay, so why hip hop? Why do you love it? What is it that attracts you to hip hop?
Yes, I love hip hop because I actually grew up with hip hop in my house. My oldest sister, she hated every ballet class she ever took, but she was an incredible hip hop dancer and ended up dancing for the Knicks basketball team. So she made it to like the top of the hip hop career. And
You
so
should have a dance off.
I
Can you
know.
please?
Well, what's funny is like when I go to visit her, she lives in California now, and whenever I go to visit, she's retired, but we'll take like a private hip hop class, and I love it, and she's still incredible. And I think just even growing up around it, I mean, I have appreciation for it as I do for other forms of dance, including ballroom. Like I think it's incredible. I've also taken ballroom class before. I'm very into like trying different styles. I've taken shuffling. I took my first locking class last
Cool.
year. African dance class, Indian dance class, doesn't matter. I just enjoy figuring out a different way to move my body. But I can't say I'm good at anything, like particularly good at anything, but I do appreciate and enjoy other styles of dance, especially because my middle sister as well, she was like a super talented dancer in many styles. She also enjoyed sports, so she like did it all and she never wanted to go the professional route, but I was exposed to it from a young kid, and so I appreciate it.
Got it. Got it. You come from quite of a dancing family, I see. So listen, when you try all these other dance styles, do you ever have a feeling that ballet is too restrictive, that there are so many rules and so many a proper way of doing things, just like in ballroom, that it almost restricts your expression?
Yeah, it is. It can be very restricting, and especially the way we work as ballet dancers. I feel like it's similar in ballroom where it's the work ethic, like the structure of a class is more rigid. It's intense. You have people really pushing
Mhm.
you to take correction and holding you accountable and responsible. So like it can be very militant. I do think that's true, and it actually is very much part of my daily work to let a lot of that go and trust that technique is there to support me, that I'm a well enough trained dancer to relax a little bit. It's like
Mhm.
this is the thing that I have been focusing on in the last year or two. At this point in my career, it's like how to make it look not so uptight, because it is. There's a lot of rules and a lot of structure to it. So I think the thing is to have that structure, but then break it down to make it
Let
look
go.
as natural as possible. Yeah. Let go.
Yeah. That thing of making dancing look like it's easy, it's the most difficult thing ever. Uh,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
supposed to look effortless, but there's hours of blood and sweat and work behind it. So, listen, what is it that, well, let me just say that. So, a lot of my listeners are dance enthusiasts, but some of them are not. And there are thousands of dancers that want to be in your position of a principal dancer in the best ballet company in United States. What is it that separates you from these hundreds and thousands of dancers? You know, most of them never make it to this point. What
Yeah.
is it about you? How did you get there?
It's so true. I think I have worked particularly hard. Not to say that other dancers don't work hard. There are so many dancers that work really hard and they still never make it. But for me, I had, I think, a combination of enough talent, the right support system, and
Mhm.
also an extremely strong work ethic that made it so that I got to where I am today. It's like whenever I talk to young dancers or even other people in other fields, I'm always like, you can never really underestimate the power of hard work. It's like you would be surprised at how much you can improve
Mhm.
through sheer hard work. No, and oftentimes you have dancers who even they're born with everything, and because they're born with everything, they feel that they don't have to work as hard. And then you have those dancers who have almost nothing and they know how hard they have to work to achieve their dreams, and they catch up and surpass. So I just think it's a lot of it is also just your mentality, how you approach your work, and I think I it's a combination of things: hard work, luck, given talents, support system. It's kind of like the perfect storm. And also
And
just
support,
not giving up too,
not
not
giving up.
not yeah.
Have you ever felt like giving up? Did you have like a challenging moment when you felt like, okay, this is enough. I'm done with this. This is too hard.
I never had, well, as a kid, yes, like maybe when I was 8 years old, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. And my mom would always be like, fine, you don't have to do this anymore, but you have to finish out the year because you made a commitment. It was like part of her teaching me life values. You're
Hmm.
not just going to drop something. If you committed to something, you're going to see it through and then you don't have to do it again. And of course, always like 2 days later, I'd be like, I love ballet again. So though in those moments, yes, I've wanted to quit. Relative to my professional path, it was in 2020 that I was like, oh, I think I don't have a place here at ABT. So I want to move to a different company. So in that way, I wanted to like quit ABT and move on because I felt that my career was not going in a direction that I wanted it to at the time that I wanted it to. It's like my director would say to me, like, trust me, I have a plan for you, but it felt I didn't feel that from him. Or it wasn't coming to fruition in action, in his actions. So I was like, I think I need to go and take my career into my own hands, be responsible for it, and make myself happier by being somewhere else. And then things changed because I got promoted during the pandemic,
That's when you
weirdly
got your
enough.
role, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even know if there was going to be an ABT after all this. And now we have like all these promotions to principal dancer. But yeah, in that moment, for sure, I was like, I think I'm ready to move on. I was excited to move on, actually.
So basically, going back to my previous question,
Yeah.
you don't think there's anything special about you? Do you think it's the combination of all those things and very, very hard work? Is
I
that
think
basically what it is?
I think so. I mean, maybe if you
Is there
ask
like
like
one special magical ingredient? No.
that's a really good question. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of, people with special qualities, and each person with different qualities from the next person. But I think it really is a combination of so many factors like that can make your career happen or not happen. Also, even health. Like, I've been, knock on wood, like a pretty healthy dancer. I haven't had any major injuries that set me back. So I mean, again, it's been my journey. And it's also been me like having to advocate for myself because, again, I was not necessarily achieving things at ABT in a super direct way. It was like I was always either filling in for an injury, or I was kind of the go-to girl when in an emergency situation. And then I had to learn how to speak up for myself and say, hey, like, can I actually do a performance where I'm scheduled for it ahead of time, not just in case somebody gets hurt? So then I also learned how to advocate for myself. And I think that helped me achieve my career goals. So it's like it was so many things, I think.
I have two questions coming out of it. First, you
Yes.
touched upon injuries. Knock on wood, you've been blessed to be healthy and not injured, at least not in a way that it will stop you from your career. But do you have a backup plan if something like that happens?
That's a really interesting question. I do love to teach, to be fair. I love teaching. It's something I
You
discovered.
mentioned you were teaching just today morning, right?
Yeah, it's something I discovered during the pandemic. I was like, oh, this is really rewarding and fulfilling, and I like this a lot. So I mean, it would be wonderful to be a teacher. And other than that, I can't really say for certain what else I might have enough interest in that would hold water, next to ballet. And I tell that to people all the time. I'm like, we're so spoiled as dancers who actually make it. Like, the fact that
Make
we
it.
love what we do is such a privilege, and
Yes.
therefore makes that transition when you do retire, because obviously we retire at a younger age than regular folks. It's like when you say, what are you going to do next? Well, it's so hard to find to find even one thing that you're passionate about that you get to do for work, let alone the next, like the second thing that you love to do that makes work not feel like work. I mean, that's really like, that would be really unusual. So, I can't say I know what else I would love as much as I love being a ballet dancer, other than perhaps teaching, and who knows what else.
All right. So the future is open and you're just going to go with the flow, explore your options. You mentioned how your mom would sometimes nudge you a little bit to keep going with ballet. And, there's this, I've read one of the interviews that you did previously, and you mentioned how, dancing and training requires a lot of sacrifices, and you missed out on birthday parties and sleepovers. You had to refrain from certain activities that could get you injured, skiing, maybe I don't know what else is there. For me, it was the skiing that I really was regretting I couldn't do.
Yes.
And this is a recurring theme for all the dancers, all the athletes that are serious about their craft. Do you have any regrets there that you missed out growing up, or?
I don't have any regrets, thankfully. Do I sort of wish that I was a little bit more maybe mentally relaxed about like about what I was doing, perhaps. Um, I think I was such a serious, focused kid. I was really on a mission. So therefore, I mean, it was a pleasure. Even when I was working intensively, I was like, this is great. This is what I want to be doing. But I do look back and see how, I probably put more pressure on myself than I needed to, because at the end of the day, everything worked out in time. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes even when I'm teaching some of my students and they're like, for example, they're struggling with a step, and or maybe it's even jumping. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? It it could also be a matter of you growing up and getting older to be able to jump more strongly. Don't worry about it. But of course, in the moment when you're 12, 8, 9, 10, 12 years old, you're like, oh my God, I need to jump higher. But it's like, well, you're still 8. So you don't have, you're not maybe going to be jumping like a professional dancer yet, because you don't
Yeah.
have the physical maturity to do so.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's like I could have probably relaxed a little bit more. But ultimately, I mean, that would be me really like struggling to find something that I wish had been different as a kid. I really did have a great childhood, and I was doing what I wanted to do, and that was such a gift.
Made you happy. Listen, would you, if you had a daughter,
Yeah.
would you put her in ballet? Would you want her to
That's
dance? Would you want to
yeah.
have her to have a career that you had?
You know what? I can't say I'd want her to have a career. Because actually, it's like my mom. She never pushed me to dance. She would just, if I wanted to quit, like on a Tuesday, she'd be like, okay, you can quit in whatever, May, when the school year is over.
When you change it,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, like again, it was more just to instill certain value in me. She's like, I signed you up for these classes, I paid for them. You need to just see your commitment through. I think
I
it
do
was more
exactly the same thing with my daughter. Exactly
that
the same thing.
that's
So,
so great. It teaches somebody responsibility. So I appreciated that. But she never was like, you need to be a ballet dancer. And I would never say the same to my own daughter, but I see so much the value of dance in general, whether it's ballet or another form, how it teaches you discipline, how it helps you exercise, it gives you endorphins, it like exercises your brain. There's just so much upside to it that I would absolutely put a daughter in dance class. And the day she wanted to stop, I'd be like, okay, fine, fair, you don't have to dance anymore. But I think I would want to expose my daughter to ballet or some form of movement.
but you mentioned that not necessarily you would want that for your daughter as a career. Why not?
Um, I think I should say I'm indifferent. Like it's not that I want or don't want that for my daughter. I think if it were something that gave her fulfillment and happiness in the same way that it does for me, I'd be like, by all means, go down this really difficult path, but one that you are choosing, that you want to do, that you're loving. I think then great, more power to her. And if she was like, I don't want to do it, then I'd be like, fine, find something else. But I do think it is a beautiful, fulfilling, wonderful, like life calling, and I feel so happy to do it. And even if a family member, like my niece or somebody, wanted to become a ballerina, I'd be like, I'll be there for you to support you in this.
This is so funny. The best quote about doing something like dancing and many other things that I compare to dancing that are really hard and really risky careers, like acting. We only see the stars on the screen that made it, but there are thousands of actors that wait tables in Hollywood and they never make it to a big screen. And someone once told me, if there is anything else you can do, go and do it. But if there is nothing else you can do but dance or act, and that's all you want to do, and that's all you can do, then stick with it. And I kind of feel that way. I kind of felt that way growing up. I Dancing was literally the only thing that I felt I'm really good at, I'm competent, and that I can do and that I want to do. And if you ask me right now, would I want my daughter to be a dancer? Honestly, no, because it's so incredibly hard.
It
It's
is.
so it is so incredibly hard, and your career ends so early. Like 35, you are done. And what do you do next? You have to reinvent yourself. It is so incredibly hard. But yet, if that's where her heart was and that's what she felt passionate about, obviously, I would say go do it because it's going to make you happy. And that hardship is never going to feel like hardship. Sure, it's, training is hard. But honestly, I don't feel like I worked a day in my life. I
Yeah,
really don't,
exactly.
I
Well,
had
they
hard
say
days, but
yes. Yes. There's like that quote, I think it was Martha Graham who said a dancer dies twice, which I think is so poignant because it's true. It's like we identify so much with what we do. It's like dance is all consuming. It's like who we are as people that when we're no longer dancers, you have to figure out who you are. And I think that's also why it's so important to have a balanced human life so that when it does end for people, it's not like the end of the world and people go into like crazy identity crises and depressions and stuff like that. But there's something to be said for the fact that a dancer dies twice. It's true.
yeah, I like that. I like that. I can
Yeah.
relate to it. Listen, just I'm gonna change gears a little bit. I know we have to finish in a minute, but I was just thinking about it. Tell me, how is your social life? Because I feel like, when I ask you a question, do you feel like you were missing out anything growing up? I had to give up a lot of things, but I don't feel like I was missing out because I had so many friends and I was traveling around the world and I was performing. I actually thought that my life was richer than a lot of other kids. How is that social life for you in the circle, in your environment?
I couldn't agree with you more. It's like I may not have connected with kids my age in my normal academic school who actually had no idea what it was like to be pursuing a profession from the age of 8 years old. And they shouldn't. It's not a normal thing to be like, oh, I'm a professional already at 8 years, or I'm striving towards this thing. I didn't really connect with them that much, but it was okay because I'd go to dance after school and connect with all the people there. So I'm totally in the same boat as you as far as like I didn't feel like I was missing out on having a sleepover with the kids at academic school because I would just go to the dance and see the people who actually understood what it was to put in hard work and something else aside from academics at that time in my life. Um, my social life, I have to say it's so great, and I in no small part thanks to the environment that we have at ABT Company specifically. It's the only company that I've worked for, so it's all I know. But from what I understand from people who have been in other ballet companies and have experienced things both outside of ABT and now dance here, it's really unique in that we're really like a family and people are super cool, and it feels like you're going and hanging out almost like having recess when you're in rehearsal. Of course, we're all focused and professional and trying to like learn choreography and do our jobs, but in a way where we're connected and having fun. And that fun only continues when we're on tour all together. It continues after work when we decide, okay, let's go get dinner. It's the end of the week. It's really built into our professional life, and then it's easy to carry over into our personal lives too. And for me, I've always been a person who has tried to stay as balanced as possible. So I'm a person who will make a big effort to make plans with people. It's like I rarely ever flake on plans. I push myself to do normal things because I think it's healthy and important and fulfilling also.
Is your best friend from the ballet environment?
You know what? I do have a few different best friends. A lot of them are from dance. Yes, I have some best friends that are not from my ballet world, which I'm also again. I'm like I love that I have friends on the outside of the dance world, and close friends at that. But yeah, the bonding that you have with people who know what it is that you do and do it too is like is there's like this unspoken language there, and
Of course. Of
yeah, of
course.
course, understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, you going through the same thing day after day after day. Listen, what advice would you give to young aspiring dancers?
I think again, it would be like hard work and openness. I think it's really easy. There's a lot of sensitivity these days, which I think is great. I think it's great to be aware of everybody's circumstance and what everybody's going through, and to never make assumptions about people, and but I also think it's important not to take things personally. And I think a lot of times, especially in something like ballet, where all we do is critique ourselves and get criticized all day long,
Mhm.
criticism being correction and feedback because we're trying to get better. It does like wear you down. I can totally get that. But I think adopting a mentality of being able to more like laugh at yourself than cry over a situation is so helpful and important. Um, Having a positive and open attitude and not feeling like you're on the defensive will just help a person to grow leagues and leagues and leagues faster and farther than when you kind of either make excuses for yourself or again put up some sort of defensive wall, which again, I everybody's going through a different experience, but as best as people can let go of ego and perhaps circumstances, I think just will open up their world even more to, again, growth and change and actually positive influence. That's my feeling.
Any advice specifically for boys who want to dance? I always, I think it's so unfortunate that boys don't want to dance, that they are taught and it's put in their head that it's cool to play soccer and football and baseball, but dancing is just not cool and it's for sissies. And I talk to my kids often about it. First of all, are there straight men dancing ballet?
So
Or
many straight men. You would be
that's
surprised by how
great.
many
That's
straight men are
amazing.
in ABT. And people ask me that all the time. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's so many marriages in the company and so many relationships. Like, there are so many straight guys, contrary to popular belief. And yeah, in a way, to me, there's like nothing more masculine than being a ballet dancer, like being
Oh,
able to like
they are the
own
most amazing athletes.
such amazing athletes, and also being able to be like, yeah, I'm a straight guy and I do ballet, and being comfortable enough in themselves to say that is like very empowering as well. um I think, yeah, dance it shouldn't discriminate. It should be open to everyone, and I think especially for boys who want to dance or who are afraid to dance, it's like there's going to be a lot of situations in life where you're afraid to do something or you might be judged to do something. And again, it's about not taking things personally and letting it go, like doing the things that make you happy. And if dancing is that thing, then yes, you might be bullied in school. I was bullied in school for just being a female ballet dancer, but it made me so strong, and I built such a thick, tough skin that has served me in so many situations later in my life that I'm grateful. It's like in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I'm so happy that those three girls were so mean to me in school for so many years, and that the principal like completely ignored it. And and I was just, I'm happy for my experiences. I think for boys as well, it's like because there are so few of them in comparison to female ballet
Girls.
dancers, they do have a little bit of an easier time. Like usually boys might get an automatic scholarship, for example. But in the same way that I would say to anybody, work hard, I think boys should not rest on the fact that just statistically there are less of them in dance. They should also push themselves to be the best they can be, so that when they join the world stage, they're not, just resting on the fact that they are men.
I don't know. I feel like boys have not discovered the very simple fact that if you are a dancer, you are going to be in an environment full of most beautiful women, and the ratio is going to be like 100 to 1.
Exactly. Well, a
My
lot of like I've heard my male friends say that. They're like, Well, I mean, it was a no-brainer. I'm around girls in leotards and tights, and I'm touching them all in partnering class. Like, it doesn't get better than this. So I think you're right. There's something to be said for the fact that maybe it hasn't been fully realized yet.
No, this is when my husband started dancing to be around girls. So there you
And
go.
look, he ended up with the most gorgeous woman.
Oh, you're so kind. Well, listen. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your insight, for your knowledge. Thank you for being such an incredible inspiration. Tell me, what do you have coming up? Is there anything you would like to promote, and how we can find you on social media?
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. You have such wonderful questions and thoughts. I'm glad we had this conversation. Yeah, we will be touring. We're going to the Kennedy Center in DC next week, performing Crime and Punishment, and then we go to Orange County for a premiere for us. It's A Winter's Tale by Christopher Wheeldon. After that, we're going to Korea, and then Met season happens, and the Met season, there's
Gosh,
just
you're all
nothing.
over the place.
Yeah. So there's just nothing like it. Being able to perform at the Met, and I'm going to be revisiting some of my favorite roles, like Giselle, and I'll also be doing a couple performances of Swan Lake, and so I post those dates and things on my website, skylarbrant.com, and then I'm also mostly active on Instagram, which is just at my name, Skylar Brandt, and that's it.
Skylar, thank you so much. If you're ever in Bay Area, you've got to let me know.
Okay.
It would be such a treat to see you perform live. It would be such an amazing treat.
Love
Thank
to
you
perform.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Danceology podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at danceologypodcast@gmail.com. We are also on Instagram and Facebook at Danceology Podcast, and available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Metacortex Publishing hopes that you've enjoyed this presentation.
Please take a moment to listen to some other podcast offerings from Metacortex Publishing.
A quest is a search for something. And every week, the Quest podcast will show you how we know what we know through interviews with people that have incredible stories of dedication and perseverance. I'm your host, Todd Fisher. Join me in this thought-provoking and inspiring podcast of discovery. Find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Every year, tennis players from around the world compete for excellence, triumphing against all odds to emerge the champions. I'm your host, Maddie Harrison. Join me as I get up close and personal with these dynamic individuals and find out what it takes to go for greatness. Let's go beyond the match.
Hi, I'm Father Daniel Duplantis, a Catholic priest, martial artist, and host of the Karate Priest podcast. Have you ever wondered what the church teaches about different topics? Are you a martial arts enthusiast or just someone who wants to learn more about martial arts? I'd like to invite you to join me and many guests on my podcast as we cover topics of faith, everyday living, and martial arts on the Karate Priest podcast.
The No Earthly Explanation podcast investigates the things that are unexplainable, hosted by world-renowned investigative researcher Donald R. Schmidt and scientist Ellie Ringo. Follow them as they look for evidence for things that have no earthly explanation. Available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Cult Following is a podcast that studies the personalities and common traits of cult leaders and their followers. Get the real story behind these infamous and oftentimes tragic cults from a new perspective, through exhaustive research, and from interviews with people that were there. Available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please be sure to rate and review this episode. This podcast is produced by Todd Fisher and Anthony Smith and is distributed by Metacortex Publishing. This podcast is copyright. Any previously trademarked or copyright content is used by permission. Information and opinions stated in this podcast should not be construed as medical advice. Please be sure to visit the official website for Metacortex Publishing at metacortexpublishing.com or find us on social media for other unique content.